Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today, High Quality Deformations for Real Time. My name is Elise, and I am here to introduce my colleague, Shane Griffith, who is the Director of Product for Digital Design, as well as our special guest speaker, Rich Hurrey, who is the President for Kitestring, Inc. We're going to start off today with just a quick Foundry update, and then we'll go into what's new with Modo, and then Rich will present Ozone Engine and Ozone Studio. We'll wrap up the session with a live Q&A. So if you have any questions, please just add them into our questions tab. To start off, I'd like to thank Rich, of course, for joining us, and Kitestring. Also, I'd like to thank all of our studios and guest speakers who have participated in our virtual event series over the last 4 months. Over the past 4 months, we've done approximately 30 events, which are all available on demand on our Livestorm page. And we have more great content coming up. Next week, we'll be presenting a webinar focused on reaching sustainability goals with digital product creation. We're also participating in some other industry events, including DigiPro, which started today. Tomorrow, our head of research, Dan Ring, will be presenting SAS, a recent research project. Also, our Director of New Technologies, Matthew Mazerol, will be presenting at the Open Source Days, Academy Software Open Source Days next week, August 18th. And then following that, there's virtual SIGGRAPH. Over the course of 2 weeks, there will be a virtual exhibit hall. On the second week, we'll have our virtual exhibitor booth page up and running, so we encourage you to come visit us there. If you'd like, you can use our promo code, which will give you free basic registration and $50 off an upgraded pass. Also, every Friday, Shane hosts Friday Brew O'Clock on his Modo Geeks channel at 4 p.m. Central District Time. We'll post in a link there. I see Rich is raising the roof to this, so I know that he joined, so we can see his little headshot here among many others. So we encourage you to join, have a drink, alcoholic or not, water, whatever, and hang out with these guys and talk Modo and 3D design. Also, we encourage you to check out our Insights Hub. We have a lot of great articles there. Here is just an example of some recent articles. Our Insights Hub lives on our Foundry site. You can also subscribe to our quarterly newsletter if you'd like to get these articles sent directly to your inbox. And also, we encourage you to follow us on social media. We have 2 different handles out there, either at Foundry Team or at the Foundry Team. You should be able to find us on all different social media channels. And finally, just like to make everybody aware of our resources available on our community and learn channels, from community forums to tutorials, developer docs, and more. And you can find all of that here on our community and Foundry pages. And again, I'll post those links in our chat today. Just like to say thank you again for everybody who's joining us, and to Rich and Shane for presenting today. And I will leave this now to Shane to talk about Modo.
Awesome. Thanks, Elise. I just wanted to point out on the Learn channel, there's a lot of new stuff there. There's some new tutorials recently published from John Bevaresco. And then there's a lot of new stuff coming as well. So that area of the website is getting filled out more and more every week, every month now. We've recently just released Modo 14.1. We did one of these live streams with a whole bunch of people a couple weeks ago. And our good friends at Pixel Fondue recently posted links to the longer versions of those conversations. So if you haven't seen that yet, definitely check it out on the Livestorm feed here, and then also on the Pixel Fondue site for the longer versions of that, the links to those. And then if you haven't seen the release yet as well, I think Elise is going to post a link here. There it is to the new releases page, which gives you a breakdown all the new features in Modo 14.1. Coming up, we have a V2 release. This year, we've been trying to, in between the point releases, release a V2 with additional bug fixes along the way. So we have that coming up here shortly, and that should be published to the beta site here soon. And then the team is hard at work at 14.2 and even onwards into next year's releases with the 15 series right now as well. So things haven't stopped, and we're keep on moving along. And with that, I think we'll move into what we have to talk about here today with Ozone.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, so Welcome again, Rich. We've been talking about this, you and I have, for quite some time now, and you've been able to get more and more public with it. I think the response has been fantastic. And I know you have a lot of even new things to share today, so I'll, here in a minute, get out of the way. But if you had to summarize what is Ozone, what does Ozone mean to you? I mean, where did you come up with the name, and what does it mean?
Well,
What is it?
Okay, well, I can share about how the name was up here in a second, but what Ozone is a standalone deformation engine that allows us to craft order of operations based deformation systems and get that into other platforms and other applications. So in a way, it is a rigging and deformation interchange tool that allows you to rig a system once and use it in multiple environments. And it's Ozone Studio is a plugin for Modo, because Modo is the only commercial application on the market that supports order of operations based deformations, natively. So for us, it was a perfect place to start with where we will build our tool set, then to craft these really amazing deformation systems and be able to animate them anywhere. The name Ozone comes from ready for some dad joke. The order of operations, which is OOO, 3 O's is oxygen 3, which is ozone.
Yes.
So the Ozone engine is really just me throwing my dad joke vibes into a product launch.
I love it. It's a perfect name though, too. It is like, and I think you're going to get into this. What is order of operations deformation? But that is the core essence of what sets this off as different than a lot of things that are out there. And then the other key aspects that I hope you go into today is the portability of that rig,
Yep.
and then the playback capabilities of that rig. Not only playback, but you're transporting it in basically a way that allows you to fully animate it anywhere else.
That's right. It's a rig once, animate anywhere. If we had a tagline, that's what this is. It allows you to take full advantage of everything that we're putting together and animate it in any system we support. And
that's including real time. So I think key aspect to this is it's not just from one DCC, Modo, Max, Maya, Houdini type of application. But it's moving it from Modo to Unreal or Modo to any real-time engine, potentially onwards.
Our goal is a full, high quality to the nines character, say 1,000 to 2,000 deformers running at 1 to 1.5 millisecond execute time in engine. That's our goal. That means that you'd be able to bring a feature film quality character into a VR environment and it would work. That is our goal. Now, time will tell if we hit it. But right now we're getting 3 to 4 millisecond compute time, and we haven't really only started getting the features into place. The engine is at what I would consider a 1.0, and we are going to be refining that thing constantly over the next several years. So I fully expect we'll hit that mark. And some of that, the ability to do that, is the nature of what order of operations brings to deformations. It is a different way of solving the deformation issue. And I think that's the biggest thing we could do today is, what is order of operations? Why is it better? And then I can show some really cool results that are just kind of inherent in this type of system. But fundamentally, I believe the Ozone, engine is going to change the way games and, TV and film production are done. It really is just that much better.
100%. So let's get into it. So what is OOO?
Well, here, why don't we do this now? I'm assuming that, I've been doing a bunch of different demos and stuff, so I'm not gonna go through everything, but I do want to talk about the basics. So let's do this. Let me enable screen sharing here, and then let's get off the vacation. So, all right. So we're going to start off with just what is order of operations. So you guys see my screen, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So at its heart, what it really is saying that when I'm crafting a final shape, I'm not worrying about a series of joints and normalized weights. I'm not trying to work with these islands of effect and then move them around and try to get my final shape. So that means that when I do a bend, right, I'm actually using a bend deformer. There are no joints in this system whatsoever. It's just me bending this thing out, right? And I know this is sort of what I call the order of operations teapot, but it illustrates kind of the core idea of this, right? So right now, if I use this and I bend it, and then I rotate it. Oops, I've got the order wrong. I jumped ahead. Hold on. Bend is supposed to be first, then rotate, then move. Okay. So sorry about that. I showed you the climax there.
You killed the punchline right there.
I did. I killed it. So the idea is when you rotate this, right? So it's saying bend, then rotate, then move, right? So I'm saying here are my 3 deformation ideas: a rotate, a bend, and a move, and evaluate them in this order. And by evaluating them in that order, I get this result. Okay. So now if I pull and since I already showed it, I'll do this first. If I do rotate and I say, I want you to rotate first. So now I'm rotating, then I'm bending. Well, if I animate the rotate channel, it looks like it's bending through or rotating through that bend space because it is. It's evaluating the bend first. So, or the rotate first. So it's show me the rotate, then show me the bend. Now the move is still firing last and it pushes the system up. But if I take the move and I put it here, so it rotates first and then moves and then bends. Now when I move it, it's moving through that bend space. So this style of deformation gives us the flexibility to break our deformation components or ideas into these separate pieces and then layer them together. So while this is just a simple little noodle, I've now done really complex kind of ideas with it by literally just changing the order in which it's evaluated.
And this is why, to me, it's a bit like modeling. So, and this is, I know, this is more philosophy to you, where rigging is modeling.
Rigging is modeling,
and this brings it home to me as well, where you are capable of creating form and creating shape with a rig.
Absolutely,
in a very mesh independent way, which I think is another key point that you're going to go into for us a bit later as well.
So I'm gonna fast forward to the other end of the spectrum. So we looked at our starting point. This is a sample, a demo we did, a prototype of the Unreal Engine or the Ozone engine inside of the Unreal game engine. So, and we'll look at Zoe here quite a bit, but I'm just using a game controller here. So this character is rigged using no joints or blend shapes whatsoever, not as any core movement. Right. And so now I'm pushing this character around and kind of swinging through a couple of poses. But all of these poses, again, there's no joints. Now, what's nice about this, and we'll get in there, is that if I come in here and I bring this to my grid view, when I do this with my jaw and I'm moving her jaw open, you'll notice that there's movement all the way up to her temple. Right. When Zoe opens her mouth, you're seeing movement everywhere. That is a single rotate with a single weight map. There is no string of pearls around the lips. There are no joints all over the face. It is literally a single idea. So that means that when I do something like this and I do a slide of the jaw down, right? Those are 2 different ideas that are blending well together. And actually, the jaw down plus the jaw left and right are using the same weights, but different deformers. So you can share weights across deformers and then evaluate them in the order and build them up the way you want. So, you know, Zoe here, and I'm bringing her to life, but you know, the kind of character that you can get, and I mean that in the expressions, the expressiveness is so much greater with this style of stuff, right? You know, in my opinion, it makes a big difference, you know, in what we can do. So this is kind of the full expression of how order of operations can create something that's dynamic. And I'll get into some of the production wins here in a second. But to kind of finish off on Ball Guy. So this is really more of a tech demo. So what we're looking at here is a sphere with a mouth on it and 8 rotates. Again, no joints, no blend shapes. And what I'm doing is I'm just changing the weights dynamically on these 8 rotates to create these different shapes. Hit a button here, and I can actually collapse this down into a single sphere, and I can start pulling my deformers out of this. because I'm blending these guys away together. So we do something like this, and I can make movements and shapes with this 8 rotate system that would be incredibly hard to do in your traditional setup. And I think this, more than anything, kind of illustrates the technical win of this, is that you can think about the shape problem differently with order of operations than you can in your traditional joint system, right? Eight rotates, and it's all running around in real time. And you see the kind of fidelity you can get in this, right? So that's that. Let me kill that. So let's bring that up here and illustrate this even a little bit better. So where are we? Here we go. All right, so let's take a look at this, right? So here is our Zoe character to kind of go back there, and I want to illustrate this in a way that kind of helps. So let me go here. Feel free to stop, ask questions, tell me if I'm going too fast, Shane. You know me. I can just kind of wing through this stuff really quickly.
Yeah.
So, you tell me where I'm at. So if we look at this now, right, I've got my jaw opening, right? And if I go to here, I can do my mouth corner lift. I can do my mouth corner slide. And you see the cheeks kind of puffing out there. Each one of these ideas, these deformation ideas, are separate. So if we look at this, here is the weight map. Let me turn it on so you can see it. So this is a weight map for my mouth corner slide. And you can see that it's extending all the way up into the face. Here is the mouth corner lift. Now they're similar, right? Those weights aren't totally different. But in essence, they really are, because I'm focusing that weight on making sure that the lift looks good, right? Versus the slide looking good. And then I'm making sure they play nicely together. And then I'm ordering them. I'm saying, do the slide, then do the lift, then do my jaw. So if I go here and I open my jaw, right, that's the jaw weighting. And you can see that these weights are overlapping. That means I'm working in an unbounded space. I'm able to make this, the jaw shape look great. The mouth corner slide shape look great. The mouth corner lift shape look great. And then I blend them together, but I'm not bounded. I'm not fighting against a series of islands, these little, joints everywhere that prevent me from moving things. So you have, in a way, you have direct access to model with your deformers to make these shapes look great. Does that make sen's there, Shane? Am I getting it right?
Totally makes sense. And that's
okay. And then
key to this, right? It's a bit hard to grasp, I think, for a lot of people new to this concept, and it is something that I would recommend that you go and you give a try. Go and Rich makes a ton of training on kitestring.com as well to help you get started with this technique and this approach. It is something I think that once people experience, then the really big light bulb and aha moment happens for people. They really come to appreciate how much more flexible this approach is.
Right. And here, I'm going to show you this here. I'm actually going to be turning these deformers off one at a time. So what you'll notice here is that I actually have this cheek deformer, right, is a separate idea. So the cheek, then the mouth corner slide, then the mouth corner lift, and then the jaw. And I don't think I actually have any jaw engaged, but let's show that off here, right? So these are separate deformation ideas that I get to break out. So for any of my rigging TDs in the crowd, what this means is if I'm diagnosing a problem with, say, something like this crunchy in my mouth corner and I get a note, I can look at just the slide by itself in isolation by turning the rest of the rig off and tuning this one weight map in this one shape. So from a working standpoint, from a workflow standpoint, again, I'm not fighting with everything else. I can see if my problem is this one control or not. And if it is, I can isolate it, fix it, and not break anything. So like the flexibility of this is crazy. And to turn these guys back on real quick.
And it's not blend shapes, right?
No,
I mean,
no.
Yeah.
This is all deformer. Now, and I have to state that really black and white at the beginning, but there are blend shapes in the system, but they're used for seasoning. They just tighten up a mouth corner. They just make a volume right. But the majority of the movement is done with deformers, not with. And as I'm pointing to my face, I don't know if anybody can see me pointing at myself, but yeah. So their blend shapes are in the system, but they are not a primary mover. It is saying the main dish is deformers, and blend shapes are just seasoning on top to give you perfect end results. But let me show this here. Then actually I realized you guys will get a kick out of this. So when I do this mouth corner, right, and I'm pulling this, you see this cheek movement. This is actually a spatial deformer. I'm actually rolling a magnet deformer underneath the skin. So again, imagine trying to do this kind of a thing with a bunch of joints. It's really, really difficult to do. And it's a separate deformation idea altogether. So if I turn these guys off, I turn off my lift, I turn off my slide, you can see that this is what this cheek is. It's literally a spherical deformer that I'm just pushing along the surface, and then I'm adding these shapes up into creating my final shape. So the kind of things that you can do, let me grab the right thing, huh? Let me turn it back on. I turned it off. Right, is really you're kind of boundless, right? There's more that you can do with special deformers that give you specific results. You get right to the points. You can make things happen. So anyway, that's
I mean, you have obviously a really big stack there, but I mean, that is kind of the point. You kind of can endlessly keep layering in these additional controls. Just, I guess, how mad are you? How crazy you want to get with the setup on the rig on this is kind of the main limitation there. There's
right.
There's not a limitation.
Yeah, it's really not. And here's the thing. Anybody that's done this professionally realizes how big these rigs get, and they get really, really big. And what's nice about this is it allows you to manage that complexity much, much easier, because you can isolate, turn things off. You can also, if you get a note about something and you need one special thing to happen for a particular rig in a particular scene, you could literally create a new deformation idea, insert it into the stack, and just turn it on for that shot. There's so much pipeline win with this way of working. It's more than just the quality on the back end, which is extreme. It is a workflow production win as much as it is a final quality win on the backside. All right, so let's leave our let's stay here with Zoe. So here is our rig, and it's a little limited compared to the other tests, but I say limited in that I didn't throw the kitchen sink into it, but it's not limited in what it can do, right? So this has got the full mouth control, all of the I can actually lift the whole mouth up and down. Again, these are different ideas, right? So I can do this without busting anything. We can do our mouth corner lift and all this other stuff. So this rig I can now export as an Ozone file, right? So I've got my rig kind of crafted here. I've got all my deformers set up, everything, and I can export this. And it's as simple as going under here, export as, and then you just pick the Ozone binary, and then you export it out, and it will collapse this into a single file. Think about this in a way, you're compiling your rig into a standalone program. It is taking it's a PYC versus a PY, right? Where you've got your Python script and then you compress it down, right? That's really what you're doing. And then with that, I can load this into another environment. So this is our Ozone viewer here. And this is just a sort of a not proof of concept. This is a ground truth to make sure that what we're seeing is working exactly right. So if I look at my jaw open now, you'll see that it's doing exactly the same stuff. I'm getting the same deformations here in my Ozone standalone viewer as I was getting inside of Ozone Studio that lives in Modo, which then you fast forward to here, and now I'm inside the Unreal Game Engine, and I can go and let's bring in Zoe. So I've got that right here. So I'm just gonna.
I think it's super important to point out at this moment the video feed through Livestorm here is a little slow and clunky, but this is all playing back at what 60
real time
seconds right now.
Yeah. It's extremely fast. Thank you for that.
I know you can't. I'm seeing it. I'm like, oh, that's chunky, but I know that it's not.
It's absolutely real time. So here's our same rig, our same order of operations based character living and running around in Unreal. So where are we here?
And this is huge because this technique or this approach up until this moment was limited because you had to bake this back down into a bone-based rig and a vertex based weighting type of approach, or mesh cache type scenarios to transport this information somewhere else.
That's right. And there's a lot of win in this. And one thing I've realized, and I kind of came to discussing this with friends, was if you look at rig interchange now, it's unfortunate, but it goes to the lowest common denominator, which is a joint normalized weight system with morphs, because that is kind of the industry baseline. But if you go to any studio making a film, they're not living in that world. They're building tools on top of that to get the shapes and get them. And some of these, I'm impressed with the quality that comes out of a lot of these studios. They are really doing amazing work, but they can't get that amazing work out and into the other environments as easily because of the interchange kind of limitations. With Ozone, we remove that. Now you're getting a 1-to-1 full version of your rig running inside of Unreal. And in these other applications. So you're not limited. You can do amazing things, and you can do wacky things. So let's do a little, this is a simple rig by comparison. This is a tongue rig. It is literally a series of bends that I've put together, but you do these things, right. And all of a sudden you're literally doing things that would be incredibly difficult. And as Lauren would say, gross.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's a big gross.
Things with this, but this is a shape that you might have to build for a film, right? I mean, this is not an uncommon thing. And I've done this with a handful of a handful of bends that I've layered together. And I'm getting that same kind of spatial deformer. I can go over here and replace this guy. So let's go to, where are we? Did I load it? Yeah, here it is. All right. So boom. I've got this same thing here in the Unreal Game Engine. I'm literally working with, a series of bends, right? So same setup. Med bend, tip bend, and then grow, right? I can push this stuff through here. So now I'm getting incredibly complex, nuanced deformations, and I'm able to author that and then see that expressed in any place that the Ozone engine has been ported. So again, gross, I get it, but awesome. Let's go back here. So anyway, so there's some other wins here. Do you want me to stop, or do you have any questions before I kind of move on to the next bit?
Keep rolling. This is good.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the wins in this, and I'm going to use this through. Here, let's do this. Fine, Geom Zoe. Okay, so this is now, if we look here, right, we've got our Zoe rig. Where are we? Right. So here's our full rig with our jaw open. You can see everything. And then what I'm looking at here is just the raw mesh. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load that Ozone file back into Modo so that I can animate this character just like I was doing it in Unreal, but back in the host app. So if I go down here and I type in ozone.add, it's going to ask me for my file. So let me go here. Alpha is alpha 1. And we should say the alpha of this is available. If you have a Kitestring subscription, you can download and start playing with this stuff yourself. So this, and now what I have is an Ozone file, right? Deforming my character right inside of Modo, and it's a single deformation. So if we go and look here, there's no giant list of a rig. It's a single deformer, and it's basically a Ozone studio, an Ozone engine player inside of Modo. So now it is no longer using Modo's order of operations evaluation stack. It's using the Ozone engine. And that means that now this same portability, speed win, everything you have right here in Modo. So that means, let me close this guy here. If I forgot my channel hall tool, right? Same thing, except that instead of it being somewhere in the 15 to 20 frames per second range, it's now in the 40 to 50 to 60 frame rate range. So now you literally can remove a huge burden execution wise on the system and have multiple characters running around. And then you can even do wacky things like this. So let's say you want another character in the scene. I can just duplicate this, and now I've got a second character, and it duplicates the rig too. So now I'm
So
able.
to be clear, that's not an instance. These are
No, these are separate files, and I could duplicate. I could put 50 of these in the scene; it would still run at the same speed.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I mean, that's mind blowing. I mean, it's
yeah. I literally could go and do this. It would be boring.
If you will.
So, I mean, I could just keep going with this. I won't for the demo. I did a video showing this off.
And how many deformers are on on that file? I mean, you got a long list of deformers there too.
Yeah. So if we look at the no. So if we look at the original, this is here are all the different deformers that are in there. So this whole system is being baked down. If we look at this here, here's a here are all the deformers and everything that is now baked down into a single file. So when I go here and I look at Zoe Geom, it is literally just, well, now there's 5 of them because I added them in the scene, but it's this. It's a single deformer. It's a single node. And it runs around and it runs in real time. Let me refresh this. Actually, you know what? I don't even need to do that. I'm going to do this here. Actually, no, I already loaded. Sorry, I'm looking at so check this out. This is where things get really, really fun. And again, all of my rigging TD peeps out there will appreciate it.
I mean, it's a subtlety about Modo that if there's anybody new watching today, Rich is switching between different scenes. So Modo gives you the ability to have multiple files open, which is another unique aspect of Modo that many don't really understand. So this is a separate scene file that he switched over to illustrate something else now.
Sorry, I totally forgot to talk about that. But
I watched Modo gurus like yourself just trot through that so quickly, and I think it's a good point to call out because it is something very unique about Modo as well.
Cool. So check this out. So here's my original Zoe rig that I just showed you. Right here's what I call Zoe Light. So what I've done is I've created an LOD of my rig. I've created a limited version, so it's got head FB, it's got a jaw open, but that's it. So the idea is all the subtlety in the face rig, I've ripped all that rigging out, and then I exported that out as a light version of an Ozone file. And then what I've got here is that I've got my full version of the Ozone file here, and now I've got my light version. So what this means is if I select this and I go down, let's do just head FB because it's a good one to do, right? So I'm, oops, let me select the right one. Make sure I'm actually doing the right thing here and not borking the demo. Head FB, right? So why am I not seeing you? Why are you not working? You're killing me, demo guy. All right, so I'm not sure why that is not working. This should be fine. It's all right. This is what happens in a demo when you're trying to show things off live.
And I'm distracting you.
Yeah, it's all good. Do I have something muted? All right, let's do this. Let's revert this scene. You know what? I can do it live here. So let's do this. Let's go here and revert this because I will not be daunted. It's always great when you're doing a demo and things don't work. So let's revert this out. All right, so because we saw this when I added my Ozone file, ozone.add, and I bring up Zoe, we get this, and everything's working, right? So here's our deformer. And then what I can do here is I can, oops, I clicked the wrong thing. Zoe, here we go. Sorry, this is, I will not be defeated. So let's go here, make sure that, doing our head FB, and there we go. All right, cool. Yeah, so we're all working. So now if I go here and I do this, we have to do a little gymnastics to make this work in the alpha. It'll be a little easier. So I can Ozone add, I can use my Zoe Light. And what it's going to do now is it's going to add this sort of dummy version in here. All right, so here's my thing there, and I'll do this. So now I've got my 2 rigs involved. So I'm going to pull this out. So in Modo, you have these ideas of mesh containers, like each of these layers is a different mesh. So now I should be able to just wire this into here. Boink. And if I hit.
So effectively, what is this showing, Rich? Are you switching the mesh and the rig
out? So this is the demo that I was trying to show earlier, but I guess I had borked something in the file. But check this out. So this was the point I was trying to make. is that this is an Ozone file with only these deformation ideas embedded. This Ozone file has the full face rig in it. It's got all that data. So imagine you have a rig that's all the way tricked out for in front of the camera for a game. And then as the character moves off screen or moves out of frame, you want to swap it to a rig that is less intense, that's got less evaluation in it. You can literally switch these rigs, these systems on the fly. So now when I pull this over here and I pull, let's go this here, and I do my head FB, right? This is moving that full rig with everything that I've got in it. But I can go here and I can swap it into this one. And if I hit my head FB here, you can see that I'm able to swap the rigs on the fly. So this idea of a complete rig system as an LOD is incredibly powerful, because I can also imagine I've got a special shot. My character has to do something in this one scene. I can make a special rig for that one scene and just swap it in on the fly.
Well, even just take the workflow in itself. Your animators could start with a very simple rig, start blocking out the scenes while your rigging TD is finishing the rig. Finishing it out.
Speaking of that, how about we actually show what it would be like to swap a character? Do we still have time? Where are we on timeline?
We still have about 10, 15 minutes. So.
All right, so check it out. So here is a version of Zoe that I've got running, right? So pulling her brow up here and whatever. So let's say we get a new character that we have to build, which is normal, right? It's like, okay, cool. We got 12 or 100 or however many background characters. But I've got this one character and she's already built. So we get a note and we say, cool, we need to take this and we need to take this rig and we need to transfer it over here. We basically need to make a new character. Well, what we can do, and let me do this and I will show you, is that I can take, there we go. Right. So I'm going to transfer all of the rigging over. And what I'm really going to do is I'm going to take this shape and push it into that one. So what I can do is I can go here. Oops, let me do this the right way. Right. And I'm going to transfer this shape into this one as a background morph. So I'm going to go here and do a topological morph creation. So that means that if the topology is the same, it's all going to work. I'm not worried about point orders or anything else. I'm just, as long as the topology is the same. And we'll say Joey.
This is all regular Modo features, right?
Absolutely. I am taking
of OOO within Modo.
That's right. I am taking full advantage of the Modo tools. So now if I grab this guy and I go to vertex map and I do, let's go in here, let's select our Zoe, and I can say apply morph, and I can apply Joey BG. Now I've turned that character with the rig into this new shape. And the beauty of this is that none of my rigging fell off. So now I've literally taken that character, made a blocking and a layout and blocking ready version of my character, and I did it in just a couple of minutes. Now, there's more to this to make it work better, and let me show you what that would be like. So we go, okay, cool. I want to take the brows here, and I want to adjust this arc of the brow movement so it matches Joey versus what we had with Zoe. So I'm going to do that on the fly here. I'm going to do it really quickly. So let's go up here. Let's bring this up. Let's go find our jaw, our brow lift locators. So that's these guys here. And did I not viz the right thing? Oh, I did let's do this one. There we go. All right. So now what I can do is I can take these guys, and if we go into Modo's setup frame, which is our kind of set the ground truth for where all of our deformers start, I can now take these and I can move them up. So now I'm changing the arc of the way the brow is going to move. I'm just going to do that really quickly. So now this, right? Your notifications are on, Shane, and they're loud.
Oh, yeah. Elise forgot to warn me about that.
She told you. She told me at the same time. I don't want Elise getting in trouble.
An hour later, you remind me. Thanks.
So now if we take this brow lift, now in a couple of minutes here, I've just made the arc of that lift move along Joey's shape. So seriously, within a couple of minutes, I've taken one rig and turned it into another. I made a basic fitting change. In the real world, it might take me an hour or two to like tune all these controllers, get everything where it needs to be, but then I bake it out. And if I come into Unreal, I already have this Joey scene. I can literally go, and actually this is where things get really fun. Let me go here and do this. Dun, 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 dun. So I'll do my head FB. We'll pull this up and we'll do this over, and let's open the jaw. Jaw open. Right. So here we have, let's say we have an animated shot even with Zoe in it. I can go over now and I can swap this out on the fly. So if I take Joey, which is over here, where are we? Oh, right here. And I do this. Now I've literally changed that character from one to another and lost no animation, lost none of the stuff. It's just now a different character that is, again, layout and blocking ready in a second. So I just swapped the character out from under what's going on. The power of the workflow of this should not be understated. Like, this is incredible. Now, this character is not done. It's not ready for final. But you know what? Your animators are working now. Your layout artists are working now. Your lighting artists are working now. And you can spend your time making beautiful shapes and bringing this rig to life and making perfect looking characters, not just making characters work. And it's hard to understate it. It's like, it's such a powerful thing. This workflow will give you better final results, unbounded quality, and a better workflow for your production.
Well, now, I mean, I got a whole list of key points to this that you've been rattling off. But add to that, portability of that is obviously very key in what you've shown here today. Scalable. This is huge possibilities when it comes to scale. And you only showed copying a few characters, but you've done other videos showing, a couple dozen, characters all independently threaded and playing back in real time, high frame rates.
Right.
And so scalable in that sense, but scalable in another sense of the number of deformers that you could apply to this as well, is very highly scalable. So again, that adds to the level of fidelity and the quality of the rig that can be created on a real-time performance side of things. Replication. So replication of this animation and this deformation from one product to another is relatively pixel for pixel the same, right? When you're putting it through Ozone, it's exactly the same.
And to pause you there, you don't have to bake out cached animation data. You don't have to have these huge files on disk that are pushing gigantic point caches around or limbic caches or any of that. All you have to do is copy the animation from one file to the other, and it'll be pixel perfect. So now you're pushing animation data. That's it, curve data. You're not moving your asset data at all.
And the definitions of those rig files are lightweight as well.
Oh yeah,
they're not gigabytes of information that you're moving around as well. You lightly touched on this, but I know this is a key part to your overall educational strategy to this. Is it's template based or template capable, where you build components of these rigs and apply them. So you don't necessarily, you were showing the full-on rig transfer from one character to another, but you could build a lip rig, you could build an eye rig, you could build pieces of this to move it character to character, or even item to item. This isn't limited to characters either. I mean, I know that's primarily what we're showing here, but
well, and this is part of the like huge win. I mean, there's a lot of it, right? But we've created the Ozone engine to allow you to transfer and take these really complex and amazing rigs and put them into any system. But we've also created a library of starting rigs that are designed to work really, really well together and export directly into an Ozone file. So this face rig that I've built comes as part of the Kitestring educational platform, which is part of your Ozone subscription. So you are not just, hey, here you go, this is shiny, make something. It is, here you go. Here's education to teach you how to use it. Here are all the starting point rigs that you can use in your own productions, as well as there will be a definitive starting point character that's fully rigged that you can use as a standard mesh to start your productions with. So we are going to be giving not just the ability, the potential energy, but I'm giving you all the fuel I can so that you can take this thing where it needs to go. And that's all just part of Kitestring.
So there's a few questions I want to hit on before we kind of move on here. One Manu had a question about retaining the animation after you swap out a rig. I believe, essentially the animation is keyframed into whatever host application the engine is running in effectively. So
right,
that's staying in place, and those keyframes are mapped to those channels. And as long as those channels persist, then the animation carries through. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So you can animate in any of these, any supported platform, and that animation can be baked down and dropped into the Ozone file and reloaded. In the first alpha, it's not working that way. And by alpha 2, we should have animation support, at least the basics of it. And I should state that we're an alpha. We're an alpha. So we're releasing this out for people to test. I expect there to be problems. There will be issues. And that's why I really need the community involved, is to give us that input so we can make it bulletproof. But yes, the idea is you'll then also be able to just export animation data by itself as either clips or poses or whatever, and reuse those anywhere that you have an Ozone asset.
So let's see what else is here. So to get the alpha, how do people get the alpha today?
So let's share my screen again.
Yeah.
So if you go to kitestringonline.com, you can come here and you'll see that we've got the Ozone alpha. So basically you need a Kitestring subscription. And if you do, then you can access the Ozone alpha, and you'll also get all of the training that's on the site as well. And then you can see here that we've got kind of, here's our Ozone studio. This shows you some of the basics, but really all you need to do is go to kitestringonline.com, create an account. So let's say you get started. It's $20 a month. Once you subscribe, then you get access to everything. So let me log in here to show you kind of what that looks like. So after you've logged in, then you'll come here and then you can go to Ozone. This will show you where you can download the license key and all the programs. We have a Discord server. So if you want to join that, that's where we're talking about all this stuff. I can answer questions. The whole Kitestring staff can come in there and help you out. We also have a series of training videos on like Modo basics for Maya users, how to install the plugin, how to use it, some of the gotchas, all of this. And this will expand over time. So we're giving you, again, educational resources to get started. It's not just a fact, though we have one of those if you wanted to look, and that's linked on the site as well. And then to get this, you literally go to your account, and then here you get you generate your license key, and then you can download the plugins. It's that easy. So you've got everything that you need to learn and to get started with Ozone.
Now, if I only wanted to dabble around with this in Unreal, is there a sample Ozone rig that I could load up on a character in Unreal and just see the performance of this in real time?
You will be able to get just the Ozone player and load up Ozone files eventually. That's not in Alpha 1, but it will be very soon. So you'll be able to, if you've got an Unreal, you've got your own Unreal install, you can load the plugin, load some sample files, and look at it. So that'll be very, very soon. But not in the beginning. Right now, you've got to have the license so you can download the Unreal plugin.
And then for those of you who have questions on the Modo side of things, there's a free 30-day trial of Modo on our website, foundry.com. And you can download the Modo trial. You can plug these things in. Rich has, as he mentioned there, packaged up some really great training alongside of this. So you can literally know nothing about Modo, get in there and do a few things and get comfortable with this to get a basic understanding of what all this is about. The rest of the Kitestring membership gives you a whole library of great learning materials from experts out there that go really deep into many different areas of Modo as well.
Should we do the one more thing? Are we going to do that now?
Yeah. So my final question for you. I saw this come up in the list, but if this is all fine and great, but I use Maya. So I don't personally, but maybe I used to. So how do you get this, into another application? You showed getting it into Unreal, but maybe my final production is in Maya or some other tool. So I see your little icon. I don't see your desktop right now, Rich. Are you still there? Oh no. I think he clicked the wrong button for the grand finale. Give it a second and see if he's able to join back. See if I can find him in the people list. Elise, feel free to chip in and help me out here. He's on the stage. Oh, I think he lost internet connection. So we don't, I think he's coming back on stage. Give it a second. Sorry for the technical difficulties. If not, well, I'll try to answer as many.
Chrome crashed. How does Chrome crash?
Oh,
Hold
no.
on.
All right.
You're like, there's going to be something that goes wrong. I'm like, yeah,
There
no,
is.
all right. Now that we've done the biggest tease of all teases, let's enable screen sharing. And I'm going to share my screen. And then we're going to go over a few desktops. And we're going to be inside of Maya. So here is, this character in Maya running. So now if we go here, I'm literally pulling this character around in real time inside of Maya to kind of prove the point that we are dealing with. And I've turned this into a subd. We can do that and make it quicker, but I like doing that. But this character is running inside of Maya, and it's running really, really well. So now you can use Ozone Studio and create your order of operations based rigs and get them into Unreal, Maya, and over time, all the different DCCs. So anyway, I just figured everybody would like to see that. So now order of operations based deformations and characters running in real time in Maya.
That's pretty freaking awesome.
It's pretty cool. We're really excited by it.
And then you could drive those Maya channels based on other things in the scene or other events and so on. So it's all.
Oh, it's a live deformer. So that means when we have, we're calling it a skeletal adapter, but basically you could translate a joint chain inside of Maya and extract out the rotational values and drive your Ozone rig. So you can do all your IK setups, all your advanced rigging stuff right inside of Maya, and then have that drive a deformation system, and it'll look seamless. It'll work seamlessly.
And then later on, the plan is to allow for fitting of these rigs within these other tools as well. So
So imagine here that you could take a master rig that you author inside of Ozone Studio in Modo, and you create all of the pieces. Then you could bring that into Maya, and then you could add weights and paint weights, and you do shape corrections. Actually, I did the fitting of the arc of the brow for Joey. You'd be able to do all of that right inside the native environment. So you become a rig fitter, which is the words that I would use in my previous life. And then this is how you would do it. So let's see, where's the brow? This is always fun to look at. There'll be there we go. So here we go. So now I'm again, all this stuff is moving and running right inside of Maya. So we're really excited by this, because this is what's going to get, is going to make this order of operations based workflow explode out into the market. People are going to be able to work. And this is, let me turn off my screen share here because I want to talk about this. So it would be an unrealistic expectation on our part to say we've created this amazing technology interchange format. Now you throw your entire pipeline away so you can take advantage of it. It is an unreasonable expectation. It's an unreasonable ask. So the Ozone engine allows you to author these rigs anywhere and animate them anywhere and integrate them seamlessly into your existing pipeline. That means you can have standard Maya characters running around. If you needed some special thing to do that order of operations is a perfect use for, you can use it and it can live seamlessly in your Maya environment. Same thing with Unreal, same thing with any of the applications we support. So think of Ozone Studio / Modo like you would ZBrush. It is a tool in your toolbox that lives and coincides in your pipeline as a gift, as a tool that you can use for where it's best used. It is not a throw all of your workflows out. It is not throw all your pipeline away. And I think that's really important. It's
I agree. I think that's super important. To take the best of whatever's available out there from many different aspects of things. So, that's the reality of any production today, whether it be for film, for TV production, or games, or independent work. It moves around application to application. So, super important to making this truly a production capable tool.
Right. It is, and I would say that nowadays, productions, pipelines are more willing to use specialty tools for special effects or special things than they ever have in the past. It's like Topo Gun can live in a Cinema 4D environment that's also using Maya for animation, that's going out to Unreal with Modo for modeling, and now it's like use the best tool for the job, and that seems to be a much more accepted practice than it was, say, 10 years ago, like big time.
So we got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Let's rattle through some of these questions quickly. First one, when will Ozone training be available on Kitestring? I think it is now, right? As part of the alpha.
The basics are already there of how to use the alpha, and the rigging master course. And I should be honest, I have not gotten all of the training done for the face rig portion of the rigging master course 3. That I tried to get done last year. I'm still working on it, but all the original rigging master course files are up there. So like 150 hours of how to use deformers, how to think order of operations, everything you need for authoring these things, all of that's there. And so Ozone specific, how to fit and use the face rigs is forthcoming. But actually I've made a bunch of changes to these rigs. They're even better now than they were when they first launched. So
we can't get you to stop. You're always improving. How do you cache any animations, or can you cache the animation? So in the case you're selling a rig with a few sample animations, how would you do that? How would you pass that along? And I think you answered this too. The animation can be saved within that Ozone file as well.
So you'll be able to embed the animation into the file. You'll be able to record or bake the animation out separately and apply that in whatever app you want. So you have the option of doing both. Okay. And here's something to the freelance people out there, or really anybody. The Ozone player will be a free player, meaning if the Ozone rigger, and let's say I've got Ozone Studio and I'm creating rigs for people, and I get a client that says, hey, can you rig this character for me? I can go, yes, I'm going to use Ozone. I'm going to create this rig for you, and then I'm going to give them an Ozone file plus the free Ozone player, and then they can load that into Maya or Unreal or whatever application they want, and they'll be able to animate it for free. They won't be able to paint weights. They won't be able to edit the rigs. You need the full version for that, but your client doesn't have to pay for Ozone. They can pay you for it, so that gives you the flexibility to create something amazing and let them use it.
Super awesome. I'm going to skip this next one. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Does Modo have any kind of screen space percentage parameters so that you could auto load LODs? You could potentially, wire that up based on distance from the camera or something like that.
Yeah, there are a lot. This is, what's great about this question? The more you guys have these kind of needs and questions, the more we can build the tools to support it. We have a whole roadmap of what we want to do for LODs in game as well as in just regular production. So this kind of stuff would be great to hear. So an auto swap, like imagine a node where you've got multiple rigs wired in and then one wired into your character and be able to swap those out based on distance is something that can be written and would be awesome.
I think the core of what Joshua is asking here is based on percentage of, so some type of pixel aspect ratio. How much is that occupying of the frame? How much is that character occupying? And
in game engines,
I don't see any reason why there couldn't be a way to rig that up based on bounding volume and a number of different things. So
we are not limited. We just have to write the piece of
code for the connector to that to drive that. So how does a blend shape correction look like inside the Ozone stack? So you
just another deformer
in there. So they're just added in as another separate blend shape.
It's a deformer.
It's a different type.
Yeah, a blend shape, a morph target, is its own independent deformer, which means that you just create that shape, you put it wherever you want in the stack, you can animate the weights and blend it off and weight the effect of a blend shape with a weight map. It's just another deformer.
So there's a bit of a technical question here. I don't know if either one of us are going to be able to answer this, but for creating the rigs, how hard would it be to make a Python API in lieu of or as an alternative to the schematic interface inside of Modo for creating the actual rigs?
Ozone will have a complete Python integration. So you will be able to write Python scripts that can control Ozone. And there will be a full development API too, so you can create your own Ozone deformers if you wanted to in any of these environments and use them in any place that we support. So the answer to that is yes.
Is there any roadmap regarding Ozone for Unity? Perhaps is it in alpha already? Hint,
it is not in alpha already. Okay. We will eventually support Unity. Did I tell you that we got an epic mega grant? So yes, we will support,
which is a huge amazing. Yeah, congrats to you guys for that. That's fantastic.
Absolutely amazing. Those guys have been nothing but supportive. It's fantastic. So while someday we will support Unity, we're just not out of the gate.
So you showed a lot of facial stuff here. There's another really good question from Jeff about, something that is multi-ped or biped. What would you do for the legs? Are they still joints, or are they different methods for rigging that?
They will be exactly the same. It's an order of operations based deformation stack. You just, you start at the toes and you work your way up the leg. And then all we need to do, and what we will be doing, is creating what we're calling an adapter that will take a joint input, a rotation input, and then export local rotation values out that will then drive the deformers. As far as you're concerned, it'll look the same. You'll move your joint with IK and whatever, and it will drive our rotations, and it'll look one-to-one. It's just that they won't actually be deformed by the joints. They will be informed by the joints. The joints will just be giving us rotation values out.
I think it's important to note that you're working with other rig developer, plugin providers like Wookosh that does ACS and others that are out there. It's an additive thing to what they're already doing. I think it's
absolutely
way to think about it. It isn't in lieu of how you do those other.
It's in lieu of skin weights.
Yes,
not of rigs. That's.
How do the file sizes compare to transferring via FBX or Limbic or something like that?
Well, well, they're really small right now. I mean, I would say that if you're looking at just an FBX, well, actually, FBX is a pretty big format. It's pretty bloated. I'd have to look at the Alembic, but I would say it's on par with the asset when it comes to animation, because we're not baking anything down. We're not doing Alembic caches or whatever. It's much, much smaller. So let's say equivalent. I actually think it's going to be a lot lighter, but on the record, I'll say that it's equivalent.
And then lastly, how would you drive this with motion capture or something like that?
That will be another adapter. So what we'll end up doing is being able to take that motion capture animation and then translate that and fit that into the rig. And that's beyond the scope of this call, but we can get into an architectural discussion of everybody working at Kitestring and on Ozone have had a ton of production experience, and we're going to make sure that this is a best-in-class rigging and animation tool for people in production. And that includes supporting motion capture elegantly, facial capture elegantly, and all these things will be part of the system. It's not an alpha 1.
You're only an alpha. Yeah. I mean, it's
literally the first time people can touch it is now.
It's now, literally right now. So I'm going to put the URL into the chat here for everybody. It is ozonestudio.net. Get up there, sign up. Get yourself some Kitestring to learn more about OOO and Modo in general. It is available today as an alpha, as Rich has pointed out many times. It works with Modo 14.1, and I think it actually requires some of his rigs require some of the new stuff that we've added recently as well. And the performance is far better in the recent release, as as part of us working very closely with Rich over the better part of a year now to help bring this to market and bring it to life. So thank you again, my friend. Always mind-blowing stuff. I think the chat was on fire today with a lot of wows and holy cow, and this is amazing. And I think it truly is. I think it is game-changing in the fact that you've ticked the box on so many different things, so many different bullet points on what it is to author, create, and transport rigs in a very high-end, very scalable way, application to application, and in real time on top of all of that. So
yep.
Amazing stuff. Looking forward to the I'm sure we're going to do more of these.
Oh my gosh, you just wait. There's more coming. We're just getting started.
Yeah. And so for those of you tuning in today, thank you as well for listening in. We have Brew O'Clocks on Fridays where Rich, myself, many others amongst the Modo team and Modo community, we just hang out and have a few beers together and talk about the latest news every week. So join us on that if you can to find out more about what's next on all of our fronts, whether it be Modo future stuff, plugin future stuff, any amazing artwork that we happen to stumble across throughout the week. We showcase a lot of stuff on that every week. So tune in there for the latest news. And until then, we'll see you guys all on the next one. Cheers.
See ya.